Okay, so let's talk about margin. What is margin? All right, someone's asking. Speak loud. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? Is it clearer now, please? Okay, great. Great. So what is margin? So in Forex, when we talk about margin, we're talking about what the broker Yeah, I'm recording now. Yes, yes, I am recording now. So margin is actually the amount the broker requires you to open and maintain a position. Okay, it's actually the amount the broker requires for you to open and also maintain a position. Now, if you've bought 10 liters plastic bottle before, you would agree with me that it's not exactly 10 liters. So when you buy fuel for your generator, it's usually here, right? The other space is free. So it's not exactly what is being said. So that allowance is always given so that the pressure created by the liquid content inside that plastic would not be so much. So also when you fund your account, the broker expects, and you open a trade, there's always a margin too, such that your trade would not close when you have no margin or allowance. Let's use the word allowance. Let's take, for example, you're skinny in January last year, like me, and in January this year, you're fatter. You're fatter. You've added a little bit of flesh, as they used to say it. The clothes you used to put on, when you start putting them on, start tearing. Why? No allowance, no margin, as it were. So if you want to buy a currency pair, if you have $1,000 in your account, for example, the broker expects you to put a small amount as margin. So you need to put like $300. So when you open a trade, let's say you open a trade of 0.01 with $1,000, your balance will be 1,000. Your equity would be, if you're in a positive position, let's say you're a positive $20, will be 120. Then your margin maybe 700. Let's say 700. Please 1 second. Okay, let's say 700. All right. What the broker is telling you is that we have taken 300 from your account in order for your open position to float freely, to move freely. Okay, that's what margin is. Just like when you buy 10 liters of fuel in a 10-liter keg or plastic bottle, when you're moving on the road, the liquid also moves. Liquid content keep moving. The fuel keeps moving. Right? Why? Because there's margin, there's allowance to move. So also the broker takes 300, for example, and you are good to go. The difference between the equity now, as the trade begins to go in profit, the margin stays the same, but the free margin increases. So the difference between your equity, your free margin, your free margin is actually the difference between your equity and your margin. All right. So as your equity begins to grow, let's say you are in a position, you have 1,000 balance, equity has moved from 1,000 to 1,500. Okay. Remember your margin was 700, right? Now your free margin, since this amount has moved, will now be this difference. How much do we have here? That's 800, right?
800.
So you have a free margin of 800. Remember before it was 700. Now you have a free margin of 800 because the trade is moving in a positive position. Now, if you were, the trade was moving in a negative position, let's say you have the equity is now 800 because your loss is 200, your free margin drops. Your margin remains 700 at 700. Okay, your free margin drops to 100, which means you cannot open the same position as the one that got you into negative. Let me say that again. Let's imagine you took a trade of 0.01, $1,000 in your account as balance. You have an equity of 1,500. The margin on this trade, for example, is 300. Okay, that means the amount left for you is 700. Okay, your free margin at this point is 800 because you are in profit. You are in profit. That's why it's 300. When you took the trade at first, your free margin will be about 300. All right, but because you're in profit, you've added 500. Your free margin also increases, but your margin stays the same. That's the allowance to trade. Okay. Free margin increases as equity increases and reduces as equity reduces. Now, if you are in a negative trade, let me go back to that. If you're in a negative trade, let's say it's 800. Okay, the margin remains the same, but your free margin is at 100, and you cannot take this trade anymore 0.1, because what is required to take this open this position is 300, but you don't have that in your free margin. Do you understand? Is it clear? I don't know if it's clear or not. No one is saying anything. Are we confused? SI equity. What is equity? I didn't get that. What's SI? Very clear. Okay, great. Zoma say very clear. I'm lost. Okay. Gotten say I'm lost. Benaya say what is SI equity? I didn't say anything like SI equity. I just said equity. Okay, now let's bring up a chart. Let's just bring up a chart. It's a very practical thing. Okay. Let's just pull up this chart once and for all. Okay, let's pull up this chart. Okay, so we have okay, we have balance of 307.2. Okay, this is the amount you have in your account. You took a trade 0.1 and you are in a profit. So on the chart, you see profits and loss. Okay, let's say you are on a negative 3, 0. What would be the equity? Equity is the difference between the balance and your profit or your loss. So we'll have about 306.89 or so, right? That is equity. Okay, so your equity is the
What is the
difference.
equity here, and what is the equity and the margin here now?
We are coming to that.
Okay, in the loss.
We are coming to that. So you have a trade, okay? This is the balance. You took this trade and you're in a negative of $3. Okay? Okay? Great, great. Now the difference between the balance and the profit is your equity. Now you have margin. I'll show you my screen so that you see, but I want to ensure I explain everything well first. Okay? Now your margin is the amount required to stay in the trade, to open a trade and maintain that position. Okay? So let's assume that on this trade, the margin required is $1,000 on this lot size, because it's a margin is actually a function of the lot size and the leverage. We discussed all that yesterday. So let's say the margin required to stay in this trade is $1,000, because the broker have actually given you leverage. It's like they've given you a loan. Okay. So before you can open any position with their leverage, there has to be an amount required so that the brokers themselves do not go into losses because they have given you leverage. It's just like when you're doing business with someone and the person wants to collect money from you, you ask the person first, how much do you have? How much do you need? How much do you have? Okay. Now you have a margin of $1,000. If this trade continues to go in profit, the way it is now, your free margin, which is the difference between your margin and equity, will be 2,069, right? As it is. Can you open another position of 0.01? The answer is yes, because the margin required is 1,000 and you have 2,000. So you can even open 2 more positions of this, because the loss is still at -3. Okay? Thanks, Josh. All right? If the loss increases to 300, your equity changes. The margin remains the same. The free margin drops. Okay, let's say the loss is 1,000. Loss is 1,000. Your equity becomes two here, right? And your free margin becomes 1 here, which means you can only open one more position of this because you have free margin. You have more allowance to take more trades. So this first trade is secured by $1,000 margin. The second one also can be secured with $1,000 because you have over $1,000 left. So if you take the second trade, you have a free margin of 69 left in your trading account, which means you cannot take any trade of this size any longer unless you drop lower to something that can accommodate this. But if you're making money, let's assume you're making money. You've made $1,000. Okay, this becomes equity becomes 4,000, right? Your free margin stays the same, right? Your margin rather stays the same. What will be your free margin? Any answer? I want to see how many persons are following. What will be your free margin? Any answer? Fastest finger.
3,069.
Beautiful. 3,069. Good. Good one, Josh. And the person who answered 3,069. Can you take another trade of this size? Yes or no?
Yes.
Beautiful. Good. So your margin here becomes
up to 3.
good. Beautiful. Your margin here becomes 2,000 and your free margin drops to 2,000. You can still take another trade. This one drops to 3,000. This one reduces to 1,000. You can take another trade, your free margin. So as long as the trade continues to increase in profit, you can take more trades. So the more money you make, the more money you keep making, the more allowance you have to keep trading. But when your free margin reduces, sure, when your free margin reduces to negative from 0 down, you get to what they call margin call. Because at that point, the broker can no longer give you the loan. And so they close all your position and give you what's left. So at the end of the day, you may still have some money in your account. You may still have like $20. And then you'll be wondering, why did they close my position? It didn't hit my stop loss. No, your trade actually got to margin call. And they stopped you out. Simple. Is that clear? So when you're trading, always
Please,
look
can you come
at.
again with the margin call?
Okay, good.
No, sir.
Okay.
The margin call.
The margin call. Okay.
When do you get?
When your free margin is less than 0, depending on the broker specification anyway. But for M trading, it is when the margin call gets to 0. So when let's imagine that. Let's take another example. Let's imagine you have good. Let's imagine you have a negative 3,000. Okay, your equity will be. Oh, we'll be logging out very soon, so please bear with me. Imagine the equity will be 72, right? The margin stays the same, right? What will be the free margin? Anyone?
minus 928.
Beautiful, beautiful. Minus 900 and something. Okay.
928.
28. Okay, thank you. Minus 928. The broker will never allow you get to this. They will never allow you get to this. Before you get to this, they'll stop you out. So the moment you lose 2,000, you're losing $2,000. Okay, that means you have 1072. You see that it is 72. You're losing 2,072. It means that this is what it has become. Your margin call is at zero. Your free margin rather is at zero. Let me think that again. 2072, right? Then you have this 100. At this point, what is your margin call? Your free margin.
I think it's zero.
At that point, you're at margin call.
Zero.
Yeah, that is margin call. So you're no longer allowed to take trades. For some broker, they give allowance of I think negative 20%. Okay, 20% of your margin, which means they might allow you get to minus 200. Okay, before they exit your position. For some broker, depending on the broker specification. All right. So when you get to zero, that's where margin call starts. You see red. You start seeing red. They may start closing out some positions before it even hits stop loss. Don't be surprised. It's because you haven't done your proper calculation for your free margin and your margin. Okay. So as long as it's as much as you can, always ensure that you have your margin, free margin, at least 50% of your balance. So if you have $3,000 in your account, ensure that your free margin at all times is 1,500. So that even when this trade drops, even when this trade drops, it has to drop so far before you get to margin call. Before it gets there, the trade may reverse and continue in your direction. We'll do all this when we are doing risk management. All right. We'll talk about all this in greater. We'll put it together. Okay. Um, we'll give you real life examples because I want to believe that not everyone understands how to trade here. So I want to be very careful with the terms I use. I don't want to walk ahead of myself. I believe equity margin and free margin margin call is now very clear, right? Does anyone have a problem with that? If you do, please let us know so that we. Okay, no one has a problem with that. Everyone understands. Perfect.
Um, I actually do have a problem, but it's majorly because I came in late. Is there a way I can get a link to this whole tutorial later on?
Sure, you can. Send me a mail. Send a mail to joshua.leo@mtrading.com. Oh, I'm typing it now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, you can see the mail there right now. I also sent a link to everyone, the YouTube videos for yesterday. I think I'll have to drop that link again here. So give me a moment, please. I want to ensure everyone has it.
You didn't get your WhatsApp again.
My WhatsApp, okay. I'll send it to you now. Thanks for reminding me.
Joshua, good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Mr. Joshua.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I've not gotten any of these recorded teachings, please.
Please send me a mail. I'll send it to you directly. If Stanley hasn't given it to you, sorry for that.
Okay, your email address, please.
I sent it on the chat. Please check the chat. You see it there.
The chat.
What about your WhatsApp?
Focus on the long term and
What about your
My
WhatsApp?
WhatsApp.
Okay, my WhatsApp is I'll drop it now. Is 070 48059
Please come again.
07048.
059 It's on the
You didn't
chat.
get
It's
it.
on the chat. It's on the chat.
Okay, it's there now.
I just posted it now.
Is it on the?
Have you seen it now?
I'm not seeing it too.
Go to the chat. You see it there.
how we can calculate
070595114.
talk about that. So hopefully
That's it there.
Please, can you come?
If you can see my screen, can you see my screen, please? We should be doing this at the end of the class. Sorry. So let's proceed, please. Let's talk about something else. One of the things you see when you open the chart is candlestick. That's how people read the chart now. They read through candlestick. Before now, a lot of persons who trade stock use line charts, bar charts, and now we have candlestick. Candlestick was actually brought to the West rather, not invented. It has always been in Japan. The rice farmers actually used it to trade, right? But Steve Nielsen, who is known today as the father of candlestick, actually was the one who brought candlestick to the West. And so right now, people use candlesticks in trading. Okay? So when you open the chart, the first thing you see are candlesticks. This is an example of what a candlestick looks like. So these are candlesticks. These are all candlesticks. The green means it's a bullish candlestick, as it's called. The red means it's a bearish candlestick. Okay, so when we talk about bull in the forex market, we mean that the price closed